the truth about what was actually happening in 1800 and 1700 and 1900 was the truth was a bunch of people that thought they could lie that were hot stuff in 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 the United States. They thought they were like hot stuff, like ooh, hot, smoking hot. Yeah, my gun's hot. Like I said, what they would do is they would do stuff like they would hide the Tommy guns. They would cut the noses off the Tommy guns, and they would hide them in their coats, and then they would come into my factory to negotiate. And what we had set up is we had a room, and it had a false floor basically, and it had tile on it, and and underneath the tile was a steel, because the tile kept cracking anyway. We tried a wooden frame, but the wood would swell and stuff, and then the tile would crack and stuff like that. So we put a steel frame underneath there to keep it nice and solid. And it was actually a scale. Um, we had invented a scale, and we actually used the same kind of one. As they walked in, there was a scale on the factory floor or something like that, or we used a scale for something else, for trucks and stuff like that. For one of my other things. It was one of my heavy duty scales, basically. The whole room in the hallway. It was basically like it was a big room, I believe, like a huge room, like the size of it was like 50 feet, because we also did security too, and I didn't want my vases or my paintings stolen, so we also built these floors for like huge buildings too, where the whole floor, the whole building was basically one big scale. So if anybody even touched the floor, the alarms would go off, basically. So we built these a lot for a lot of buildings. So one of my buildings had one of these in it, and you'd walk in, and some people would be like, "Oh, the security system's off, blah blah blah, deactivated," and the security system was basically just a big scale, and so we would have like 20 guys, and there were paintings. There were mirrors on one wall, and some of those mirrors were actually see-through mirrors with cameras in them even. They actually had cameras, so we could see anyone that walked into our room, and we could roll film on them, basically. And so we would have like 5 or 6 guys sometimes walk in to negotiate a deal, and at the end of the hall is basically the owner of the company, or a person that would negotiate the deals, and they're supposed to come in with the money and basically plop it down. They would say what kind of money they have, and I believe they would show one of the other people what kind of money they had, pretty much, or what they're going to pay for the cars with, basically, and that was the secretary or the person in the thing, and then he would say, okay, 5 guys, and I think you would tell them in the buzzer or something like that. He would say 5 guys and their money or whatever, and they would walk in, and the doors would open, and they'd walk into this room, and then the doors would shut behind them. And we know how much 5 slender men should weigh. And the Tommy gun, it's a heavy gun. And 5 guys with Tommy guns, or 40 guys with Tommy guns, well, that's about an extra 200 pounds or 100 pounds of weight that shouldn't be there. So basically, we knew when they were armed and dangerous, and some of them actually had grenades on them too, by the way. Like I said, we made guns, and we weighed guns, and we knew exactly how much the guns weighed and how much the grenades weighed. And usually they would be expecting a fight or anticipating a fight. They wouldn't have real money, or they would be planning on doing something like stealing money or getting to the safe, because at the end of the hall inside of the owner's office was the safe. So they would be anticipating on going in there like everything's fine, and then pulling their guns on the owner and basically shooting his guards. And I guess they would figure they would throw a grenade down the hall. There's different things they had planned out. Like they're gonna go like they're gonna walk into the room and then throw the grenade in, and then come running in, shooting. And we would know beforehand, basically, that they were carrying weapons. We wouldn't even have to search them, So there's video of them walking into the room, and then, like I said, we manufactured the little canisters of gas. That was, what's it called, gas. The Germans had it, and we had it. We had invented it, basically. And we also made other kinds of gas, like sleeping gas and other things. We could flood the chamber with whatever we wanted, including bad gas. So, including the what's called gas that basically plop in, or slide it down the tube, and pretty much the room fills with deadly gas. And so... And I forget if it kills you immediately or whatever. We had a couple different ways. We could stun them or we could kill them, depending Depends on who they were, if they'd killed other people or not, and stuff like that. So anyway, so we had a room like this, and it was at one of my car dealerships. And like I said, likewise, outside, they would usually pull in with like 5 or 6 or 8 cars, pretty much. And each car would be completely full to the brim with guys. And basically on the door, on the big, when you walk into the factory, there are these great big shutter doors. And they had big, huge steam piston rams that would close the doors. And on the main gate, there was also this big steel ram that was embedded in the ground, and it'd go shh, big steam, because we had a lot of steam. So it was a big steam ram, and the piston would go out and close the gate on the yard, as they say. And you couldn't fit through the bars, really. And the gate was a massive steel gate. So basically, once they came in there, like 20 or 30 so guys would go in to mill around and kind of get to know the place, and then we'll take them, and so like my actual fabrication facility, I believe, was another building, but I had this building set up as basically a yard and also some other stuff, and I think we had some people that would be working drafting. We had some draftsmen in there or something like that, and they'd be working on the drafting tables and all that, because we had drafting, and I think we had bulletproof glass between them and the main room, because sometimes they would be like trying to get the window, because we'd shut them in. So basically we'd hit the alarm, and all the doors would shut. The main gate would go, and the barn doors in the building would go, both of them. Great big solid 3-inch thick steel doors. And there's actually plans for this building, actually, in one of the archives. And they'd be like, it's a trap, Tommy, it's a trap! And that was Two-Tone, and they were talking to Two-Tone Tommy. He's one of the Ford guys, and Two-Tone Tommy liked his cars two-tone, or something like that. Or they called him two-tone. I don't know. He also had 2 tones. I think it's automatic and single shot. I'm not exactly sure. These guys were basically United States people, or pretty much people that considered them big and powerful. And they were powerful in the States, but they weren't powerful in Germany when they came to my factory. So they were trying to get cars, but they didn't have the metal. And in 1800 and 1700, if you wanted cars, you needed to have metal. Because I don't work for free, and I can't build cars out of thin air. So basically, they'd be like, yeah, the shipment's coming on Wednesday with the guys. It'll be here on the train. It's already left the station. And, my people would call up the station and be like, is there a shipment of metal there? Oh, no? Okay. Not in yet. Delayed. Okay. Nope, doesn't look like your payment's going to be coming in. Sorry, can't give you the cars. So that's when they would usually go, well, we're taking the cars anyway, pulling their guns out. And because there'd be a line of like 100 cars there. We usually keep 100 cars out front, and then there's the main yard down the ways where we kept all the other cars, and that's where you actually pick them up, as over there. Or actually, I think we drive them around, and then you pick them up from this yard or something. Yeah, we only did pickups from this yard, but we had another big steel gate door that didn't open until there's a procedure where you close one gate, and then you open the other gate. And that stops, because I'm serious. If you ever opened up both gates, guys would run into the main yard. And they would find, there's no cars here. Because there's like 3 yards. We had this whole thing planned out. Because they did. They shot a bunch of people, and then we were like, all right, we're going to handle this. So we had this big yard with these big steel doors. And they'd be like, and sometimes we'd open up both gates at the same time, because we'd see them. They're milling around out there. What do we do? Open up both gates. Let's see what happens. So they got both gates open. Let's run. And they would run. And they'd be going in, grab as many cars as you can. And they would go in, and there would be nothing but an empty field. And basically a 50 cal on the other side. We killed a lot of people that way. They're like, are you going to give up? You're trespassing. Leave. Anyway, sometimes we put cars in there, sometimes we didn't. It was like an overflow lot. I think we sectioned it off eventually. So anyway, but sometimes, but I mean, they couldn't get an aircraft. I mean, they would go up sometimes, but I mean, they'd be like, go take an aircraft up and see if you can see the cars in the lot. and that stuff, that kind of stuff. A lot of that stuff going on.